One of my keys to scaling 2 separate 8-figure businesses in my life was embodying what I call the way of the warrior. And that phrase, the way of the warrior, means so much to me that it's actually become one of the core values at our rapidly growing tech startup, Albuware. But if you really look at it, from the Dark Ages to the Renaissance, warriors have basically moved civilization forward. And I know there's a lot of negative connotations that come with warriors. I really don't want to focus on them during this video. In this video, I want to focus on 6 positive traits that you can take from warriors and apply to your life so that way you can build your business empire. Let's dive in. So the first way of the warrior that I think you'll find in all warriors is the concept of doing hard shit, or you could even call it embracing discomfort. In his book, Spartan Up, Joe DeSena actually dives deeply into this. He was inspired by the Spartan warriors to start this company called Spartan US. I'm a huge fan of Spartan. They basically have these different races, anything from a 5K with 10 obstacles to an ultra marathon with just 50 kilometers and 60 obstacles. And the whole concept is to live life with the ideology of embracing discomfort. And ever since I started doing hard shit and started becoming a Spartan racer, my life has changed drastically. I went from being like 250 pounds to now I'm around 189. I went from not being able to even run for a mile straight to this year, at the end of the year, I'm going to be running a Spartan Ultra, which is 50K and 60 obstacles. And just embracing that in your life, once you're able to go through hard stuff that you set out intentionally, the other stuff that comes to your way just becomes easier and easier. You don't get as stressed out over the hardships that life puts in front of you because you've built that muscle of always doing hard things. And then you just become unstoppable when you're building out your business empire. The Spartan races were basically inspired by the type of training and the type of things that Spartan warriors would do when they were kind of prepping to become a soldier and prepping for battle. So a lot of the races with the type of obstacles and the way they would put together these races are almost identical to the way the Spartans trained. The second way of the warrior is not backing out. So many people in life or in business get so freaking close to that accomplishment, but it might have taken 2.5 years and they were 1 month away and they decided to give up. To me, the Bushido samurais are an amazing example of the concept of not backing out. And they were known to always have armor, this thick armor, but they would only have armor on the front of their body, and their entire back of the body was pretty much bare. And they did this so that way they didn't have to carry all this extra armor, but they also did it under the premise of we don't need armor on our backs because we're never going to run away. So we never really need to be protected on the backside. We're always going to be charging forward. And I've taken that to my life, and I will refuse to ever back down or turn back around in anything business-wise or even personally related. And I think it's one very important way that we could adopt from warriors. So the third way of the warrior is actually integrity. And in business life and personal life, trust is super, super important. And the way to foster trust is by having the highest degree of integrity. And integrity oftentimes is thought about how you are perceived by external forces. But the other thing that I've realized is that the amount of integrity we have with ourselves fosters confidence. If you're not keeping the promises that you make to yourself and you're not holding yourself accountable to the actions that you set yourself out to, and even those specific ones that you have in your head that nobody else knows about, you're going to have very, very low confidence. So it's very, very important to go out in life with the highest degree of integrity. And with warriors in general, integrity is a very, very important principle. In the Roman times, for example, there are stories known that there would be these inspectors that would go out and inspect the integrity of different soldiers. And they'd basically walk around and hit those soldiers on their chest right by their heart, and the soldiers would reply back integritas, which is Latin for wholeness, completeness, and entirety. So even back in the Roman days, integrity was a very, very important way of the warrior. The fourth way of the warrior is discipline. And here's what I know. You don't have to be the most talented. You don't have to be the absolutely most gifted. The person who's willing to put in the work and willing to go in through 1,000 days of excellency will always be the person who just naturally got the talent or naturally got the gift. And you'll see discipline as a huge reoccurring motif throughout all kinds of warriors. An interesting story that I heard about discipline was actually the Kyoto monks. So these monks were so disciplined towards achieving enlightenment that they would walk around to up to 7 years. And the dagger and the rope were actually used for suicide if they did not actually achieve that enlightenment. Imagine what you can do with 1,000 days of consistent effort put towards one specific task. A lot of people say that if you set your mind to something within 1,000 days and do it consistently and discipline for every single day, you are almost guaranteed to become a millionaire. The number one mistake people do is lack of discipline. Well, they'll go all in one day and then they'll plop the next day and then they just yo-yo. And all that time and energy and effort is just spent yo-yoing up and down and up and down and up and down. And the fifth way of the warrior is actually wisdom. Even Napoleon Hill in his book called Think and Grow Rich talks about the fact that knowledge is power and applied knowledge is super powerful. If you want to build a business empire, you need to always be hungry for knowledge and master the art of always being a student. Related to wisdom, Sun Tzu actually had this quote that I'd like to share with you. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. And that is super awesome that they recognize the power of wisdom when it comes to war in general. And I think when it comes to building your business empires, understanding the concept of wisdom and the fact that knowledge is power is super critical in any success. And way number 6 is actually gratitude and faith. If you look at any sort of empire, from the Roman empires to the Greeks to the Persians and so on and so forth, they all had these two elements kind of ingrained in them. They all had super strong faith, and a lot of it's some sort of religion faith, and also faith that their empire was powerful. And then they also had significant gratitude and specific rituals that they would have, like grace before eating and so on and so forth. I think when we're building empires in business, we need to understand the fact that, one, we must always have faith in our mission, in our vision, in what we're building and our why. And the second thing is gratitude. We don't spend enough time being grateful for the things that we have already accomplished. And it's always good to want more in business. That's how you grow. But it's bad to never be grateful along the journey. Because if you feel like when you accomplish the next thing, that's when you'll become grateful, and you're not grateful now, the reality check is you'll never end up being grateful when you accomplish that next thing. And I call this concept being blissfully dissatisfied. You're always grateful in the moment for what you have, but you're blissfully dissatisfied because you know that you can do so much more. So if you're seeking extraordinary results, you must always remember that you always have to do the extra. And warriors are an incredible segment of society that have always been very well known for going the extra mile and doing the extra stuff. And I can't wait to see what type of empire you build by doing hard shit, not backing out, using the highest degree of integrity, being disciplined, applying wisdom, and always being gracious and faithful. I think by applying those 6 ways of the warriors to your life, you will be able to completely change that trajectory. If you're looking for more traits to apply to your life to be able to build your business empire, you should totally check out the 5 traits of winning entrepreneurs. I'll see you there.